welcome to Open Square, coming to you from the city of Gombe, the capital of the jewel of the Savannah, Gombe State. I'm Camry Apollo. This is the second in a series of regional town halls that improve citizens' understanding of the work of the National Assembly while asking legislators to get a first-hand understanding what their constituents want from them. Now, Open Square is a Daria media production supported by Channels TV, the MacArthur Foundation, and Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. We are also streaming live on Radio Now 95.3 FM, as well as Facebook at facebook.com/Radio Now and YouTube on Radio Now Studio. Now, it's time to deepen our democracy by asking the right questions and hopefully getting the right answers. It's time to introduce our panel of legislators from the northeastern states.
The role of parliament in a presidential democracy, such as we have in Nigeria, is often misunderstood by citizens, the media, stakeholders, and sometimes the legislators themselves. The role of the legislator as a lawmaker is well known, but less is known of the legislator's role as a policymaker, an advocate.
Right, so we're joined by members of the national
business and a critical link between the citizen and the state. The limits of the legislator's authority and responsibilities are even less clearly understood.
Thank you so much for coming. Also with us is Honorable Yunusa Abubakar, the member representing Yamultu Deba Federal Constituency in Gombe State. We are also joined via Zoom by Honorable Zakaria Nyampa from Madagali and Michika Federal Constituency in Adamawa State. Now, some other members are still going to join us, and as we go along during the course of the program, hopefully that will happen during the course of the program. Now, it is important for us to state at this point that this town hall invitation was sent to members of the National Assembly, that's senators and representatives from the northeastern part of the country. Now, here in the studio with us, we have Nigerians from states in the northeast who are ready to engage their representatives. We're also going to be joined by participants via Zoom in Jalingo in Taraba State. And here in the studio, we have with us present people from different parts of the northeastern part of the country once again. Now, let me just quickly take you through the structure of the program. We will hear from constituents what they understand about legislation. What do they know about the National Assembly? The legislators shall respond. Right? The legislators shall respond to what the constituents talk about. And civil society also has a role to play. Civil society also has a role to play. They will also come in to try to bridge in the gap on the matter of legislation. Now, from there, we'll address the matter of interaction. How often do legislators meet with their constituents? How often do legislators meet with their constituents? That's a very important matter. Is it easy or difficult? What do the legislators have in place to facilitate that, to make it happen? And every job has its own challenges. Every job has its own challenges. And we will also hear about their challenges from our legislators in the course of doing their jobs. What are their challenges? And right before a question and answer session between the constituents and their legislators, we will look at how the legislators' activities have addressed the needs of their constituents. Now, before we get into it, we will take a goodwill message from the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila.
I'm happy to join you in this event. The role of parliament in a presidential democracy, such as we have in Nigeria, is often misunderstood by citizens, the media, stakeholders, and sometimes the legislators themselves. The role of the legislator as a lawmaker is well known, but less is known of the legislator's role as a policymaker, an advocate, a regulator of government, business, and a critical link between the citizen and the state. The limits of the legislator's authority and responsibilities are even less clearly understood. And as a consequence of this, the legislature and legislators are often held responsible for matters over which they have no control. At the same time, when legislative actions yield positive outcomes, the legitimate efforts of legislators to bring about those outcomes are either ignored or attributed to others. I am delighted, therefore, that Daria Media, in collaboration with the MacArthur Foundation, has taken up the task of bridging the gap of understanding by organizing this program to provide an avenue for constructive interactions between legislators and their constituents. This is an opportunity for education and enlightenment of each and every one of us. It gives legislators a chance to tell their own stories and to hear from their constituents so that from these interactions, we might achieve a level of understanding about the true nature of our democracy and clarity about the responsibilities citizens and legislators owe to each other. Citizens' active participation in politics and governance is the surest safeguard of democracy in the long term. However, active participation must be based on a thorough awareness of the process and practice of politics and government. Otherwise, we risk a situation where conversations about the governance of our country are dominated by the loudest voices rather than the most informed. In such a situation, propaganda thrives, and our differences of opinion are easily exploited to exacerbate our existing fault lines. This is a danger that we must resist by all means, particularly through programs such as this that seek to increase understanding of how government works and how it ought to work. I thank the organizers for their efforts, and I congratulate them on their vision. I hope that by the time this program is successfully conducted here in the Southwest region, it will continue through the other regions. I also hope that this will be an ongoing effort involving politicians at all levels of governance across our country. I thank all those who will be participating in this event for contributing in this way to the joint task of nation building, and I wish you all a successful event. Thank you.
So, let us begin by what I call understanding the legislature from the citizen's perspective. Now, we will start off by hearing from constituents as we ask the question, basically, what is the work of a legislator? What do they think a legislator does? Now, we will be connecting remotely now to our constituents in Jalingo via Zoom to hear from them what they think the work of a legislator is.
Good morning. I'm Emmanuel James from Taraba State, Jalingo, the state capital. A legislator is someone who makes laws and also someone who represents his constituents in order to see that things go well with his constituents.
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel from Jalingo. Could we have the next constituents from Jalingo to tell us what they think a legislator's work, a member of the National Assembly, what is their work? Another constituents? Okay, so that's Emmanuel and his thoughts in Jalingo. Now, he says clearly a legislator's work is to make laws and to represent their constituents. Let's bring it back now to the constituents right here in our studios. Before the program began, the director indicated there are 2 microphones on either side of the hall. So please, when you're making your contributions, state your name and where you are from, your constituency, and tell us what you think. Again, what you think the work of a legislator is. What is the work of a member of the National Assembly? So from our studio constituents, could we have the first constituent to stand up, tell us your name, and tell us what you think the work of a legislator is. Can we have the first person, please? Okay. You, sir, please approach the microphone.
Good morning. My name is Ali Kolo from Yobe State, from Damaturu, Gujuba, Gulani, Tarmoa constituencies. From my own perspective, I think the work of the legislature is to represent this constituency and also to defend our interests in the National Assembly, to make law that will favor us, if any.
Okay, that's very concise.
Yeah.
Next gentleman, please. Again, please state your name, your constituency very clearly.
Yusuf from Gombe State. I think in addition to what the last speaker just said, one of the role of the members of the National Assembly is to make sure that the presence of the federal government is visible in the constituency he is representing. Thank you.
Okay, representation. So I think this is a term that three people have said so far. Let's go to the other side of the hall now. The gentleman, yes, please come up, sir. So again, please state your name very clearly and your constituency.
My name is Bachama Yusuf. I am from Belir Baranga Federal Constituency, Gombe South Senatorial Zone. I am a development practitioner. The constitutional role of a legislator is actually to ensure that laws are formulated in the interest of the people he represents, and then secondly, ensure the oversight so that such laws are actually directed at programs that will address the needs of the same constituents. And then thirdly, is to actually be the bridge between his constituents, the citizens who he represents, with appropriate authorities at the national level. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's an interesting one that he's expatiated on that. I think it's safe to say so far what our constituents have told us is that the role of a legislator is first of all lawmaking. We've heard about representation, then we've heard a specific description of representation in the National Assembly, representing the interests of the constituency in the National Assembly, and also oversight now, as we have just heard. Now, interesting submission there, the third contributor, because he says the constitutional role. But what do you expect from your legislator? This is where we sometimes, get ourselves into a bit of a confusion. What do we expect from our legislators? What do we meet our legislators for? What takes you to see your legislator? Why would you seek out? Why would you say, I'm looking to meet my legislator? What reasons would lead you to do that? Does anybody in the studio audience who wants to take that? Okay.
Alikolo?
Yes.
I think my representation to defend my interests in my constituencies.
Okay, let me ask you a question just to further open it up. What is Ali Kolo's immediate interest in this particular case?
My immediate interest is particularly youth unemployment.
Youth unemployment.
Yes.
These are two issues that would make you want to meet with your legislator.
Yes.
What would you want your legislator to do in that regard?
Skill acquisition.
Skill acquisition. The legislator should teach them.
Yes. To teach teaming youth skill acquisition so that they will come up engaging themselves, doing something that will depend on it.
Okay. So you want the legislator to train the youth, give them skill acquisition.
Yes.
Okay, Ali Kolo.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's try somebody else. You right there at the back, sir.
Good morning, all. My name is Alasan Yaya. I'm a developmental journalist here in Gombe State. Well, I expect to see a legislator that is going to represent his constituents, someone that will come home to see exactly what is happening in his constituent. And at the end of the day, he will gather their information, he will get the required necessary things that they are expected to get from that constituent, and went back to where he is representing them, that is at the National Assembly, either Senate or House of Representatives, to see how he can lobby, discuss with his other colleagues to champion issues that is around his constituent. I think that is one of the role, and I expect all our legislators, either members House of Representatives or Senate to be coming home time to time to sit down with their constituents, discuss, look at the issues, what are the early warning issues, what is happening in their constituents, based on such issues identified, and they will take them and go back and have a favorable laws that are going to work in line with the issues around their constituents. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry, Al-Hassan Yahya, you said your profession, you are a journalist. You're a very important bridge between the people and governance. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let's have one more. A lady this time around. Okay.
Good afternoon once again. I'm Fatima Sani Akubu from Gombe State. I'm standing for the voice of people with disability in Gombe. I'm the national women leader for people with disability. In my own regard, I think those legislative...
Let's talk about your expectation.
Our expectation is to include inclusion of everybody in the constituency, and to sit down with the people with disability and hear their needs, so that they would engage them in each and every of their activity.
Okay, I think this is pretty much, thank you so much, Fatima. I think this is pretty much what we've heard. Now, let's come to our two legislators who are here with us. And let's start with Honorable Kwamati Laori. You've heard some of the expectations and what people think legislation is. Do you think, basically, you've heard what they think about your roles. Is that how you also see your role? Do you see yourself in what they have said? Are they accurate in how they have described your role as a legislator?
Thank you. Basically, most of them are on points as to our role as legislators. Of course, basically, has stated is to make laws for the good governance, to represent people, and of course to carry out our oversight function. These are the three primary roles of a legislator. Their expectation, as I've had it here also, is in line. We have to understand that the process of legislation is different. Our position as your representatives are different from that of executive. Lawmaking, yes. And we have been fulfilling that responsibility of lawmaking. As for me, there are certain bills that I've been sponsoring, which has direct bearing with the needs of my constituency.
Okay, Honorable Laori, we'll come to your specific bill areas towards the latter part of the program. Let's, for now, just stay towards the expectations, what people have said they think you do, and what you actually do.
Yes, I'm just trying to marry that to show them we are working to meet their expectations as to our work as legislators. Because sometimes there may be a wrong perception as to what a legislator does. If you raise 10 people here, they are going to give you 10 different perspectives of their expectations from a legislator of what they require from him. And like Kolo from Yobe said, his expectation is youth
training
and empowerment.
Yes.
And of course, is that really the work of a legislator, to train youth and empower them? Basically, that is not his work. Basically, that is not his work. But how can he come in to help in terms of youth and empowerment? Where we come in here is to make sure that if there are areas that we can make laws so that the government, the executive, can now create this fora because it's the government, it's the executive that formulates policies. And unfortunate for us in this country, sometimes some of these policies don't come in as laws. They are just policies of government. And you find out that you'll be limited in your role as a legislator in certain areas. But we have to look at what is on ground and also praising whether from us as legislator we now come in with some laws and say, okay, we have to create this department or we have to create this program and make it into law and give it to the executive. Once they buy it and they sign it and it becomes a law, then it will be executed. Then it will now follow the pattern of attending to the youth and then creating the employment they deserve. I wish in this country we should have, like in some climes, certain development programs that will come in to the legislature and say, okay, like in Indonesia, they do. They come in with their programs and say, okay, this is the program we want to do for the next 3 or 5 years, and present it to the legislator. The legislator will look at it, and then they now formulate it and make it a law, and then no matter who is there, he has to follow it to the letter. Once a bill is passed and it becomes a law, then you cannot deviate from it.
It must be adhered to.
You have to follow it.
Okay. Right, let's come to Honorable Yunusa Abubakar. Do you agree with the perspectives of Honorable Lowry, and what do you make of the constituents, especially the ones on Zoom and here as well? What do you make of what they think your job is?
Listeners, viewers, wherever we are, I said, am I right to say good morning? The views, as it has been expressed by my colleague, Honorable Lowry, which we have been in the Green Chamber for quite some time, we've known ourselves, actually have said it, but they have not said it all. He is in line, maybe because of time constraint. Secondly, I listened to the people here. They have done quite well. They have tried to grasp, especially, I wouldn't give credit because by training, he is the barrister there. He seems to get the constitutional provision. But he also forgot to say, for good governance. It's not just for the interest of the locality. What if their interest clashes with good governance? So the key word there, formulate laws for good governance of the citizenry. Having said that, the journalists too have tried to say it, and some other people that have said, but you have not said it all. In fact, the role of the legislator, if I'm going to encapsulate it, is just that representation. That representation is one capsule. But when you interpolate it, when you expound it, I'm telling you, 5 good 6 hours till sunset, we might not be able to expound the specifics. But in a nutshell, when you say representation, yes, that's what the Hausa of the Arabic will say wakil, the French one will say député, full day will say it is a full day will say this holder or something like that. I mean, to represent, Hausa will say wakili or whatever. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that you represent in terms of every aspect. The laws are there. You look at the existing laws of your country at the national level, try to identify and segregate between what was tenable in the concurrent legislative list and what is in the exclusive legislative list. If it is concurrent, because we are operating a 3-tier of government, I mean the level, we have the federal,
okay, Honorable,
state,
Honorable
and then local.
Well, all right, we'll take a quick break at this point, and when we come back, we'll talk about reconciling people's expectations with what we are starting to hear from our legislators. There is more to come when Open Square returns. Stay with us.
remain committed to the attraction of more laws and interventions that will improve the lives of our citizens, as well as more infrastructural projects, employment, and empowerment of our people. And I give you my solemn word that those of us in the 9th Assembly will continue to do what we can, whenever we can, wherever we can, however we can, to make sure that these young boys and girls, who we call the greater tomorrow, are indeed given a seat at the table, and perhaps someday a seat at the head of the table.
To the youth and women of Lere Federal Constituency, Kaduna State, and Nigeria at large, the federal government of the day truly has you at heart. Certain policies will cascade and will take time to deliver. And certain policies are immediate, just like the ones that we're doing today. So what we just need is more engagement, and rather than complaining about the problem, the next election cycle is around the corner. I invite each and every one of them to participate fully and come on board.
The local government is a creature of the state. It belongs to the state 100%. Federal government and the Constitution have nothing to do with it. So it is for the state to determine how many local government it wants, what is the type of local government it wants. It may decide that there will be no democratic local governments. Rather, they will post civil servants to administer local governments. We had that under the colonial government. We had district officers running local governments. So the state has nothing to do with it. The federal government has nothing to do with it. It shouldn't be the Constitution. That's a state matter. Giving a level playing field. Women still cannot compete with our men for political positions for all reasons. Some of the reasons I hear is that meetings are held at night and the women cannot attend such meetings, which is fair enough. But I think what the National Assembly should have done would have been to make provision for a certain percentage of seats for women in the legislatures, and so that whether they contest with men or not, they will be guaranteed that minimum number of seats. So to that extent, I think the House that rejected the bill was wrong.
Welcome back. You're watching Open Square. Open Square is a production of Daria Media with the support of Channels Television, the MacArthur Foundation, and Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. We are also live on Facebook at facebook.com/Radio Now and on YouTube. Now, before our break, our constituents told us what they thought legislators did, and some legislators told us what their jobs actually entail. Now, we'll pick up where we left off with Honorable Yunusa to round off his submission. And we're also going to look at how do we bring the people's expectations closer to reality, the reality of the legislative arm of government. Now, deepening our understanding of the legislature begins with town hall meetings like Open Square, like this one. What else do we need to do? Is this enough? What else do we need to do? Right, let's come back now to Honorable Yunusa Abubakar. So before the break there, you told us, for example, a representation, you said it's very vast. And you said something very, very important. Apart from representation, that representation must be in consonance with peace, first of all, good governance. My people might want something. For example, people from another constituency might say it goes against their principles, their lives. So how do we reconcile? So it's very important. Could you please continue?
Well, thank you. And to deepen it, when I say representation, representation in terms of the laws, in terms of governance, depending on which level are you being as a representative. Is it at the local government level? We call them councillors that represent the ward. It is at the state level that we call them state house of assemblies that have a group of ward, 3, 4, 5 that make one state constituency. Or is it at the level of the national, which we have 2 bicameral chamber? The chamber, which is the senators, 3 per state, or is it the House of Representatives that go by the demography of the state? Now, at each level, like we in the national, we don't do something different between the reps and the senators. The senators and the reps are one and the same thing. In fact, it is only the chamber that separated us. The senators can never pass law individually without the concurrence of the House of Reps and vice versa. So we end up actually doing one and the same thing. If there is a law that we are going to formulate, it has to be word by word. In fact, alphabet by alphabet, comma, apostrophe must be one and the same. If at any variance difference, then that law is null and void. Be it as it may. Representation, you as a representative, make sure that these laws, how does it deepen? How does it help your constituency? Number 2, just like he said, how does it promote comfort, welfare, security of your constituent? Then you now look at the appropriation is part of the law that we did, and it is part of our oversighting function. Now funds are being appropriated. They lay it before you. You peruse this document. Where does my constituency benefit? Then you raise those. Just by way of an example, during the 8th Assembly, we discovered that, like the road network in the country, 70 to 80% were concentrated in only one part of the country. I won't mention name. But it is the duty of the legislators to argue, break it down. By so doing, you are doing your job. And the misnomer is that our constituent doesn't even know our roles. So when we are perusing the budget, you hear words like padding. They are putting it for their own interest, to further their own-ness, not knowing that we are doing it for the constituent's interest. So that issue, the call for education, is very, very important. Now, you look at the governance, the government's architect. How does it favor your constituency? And don't think that I'm selfish. If Yamatu Deba is there, Numan is there, the country is divided into 360 constituents. Every constituency must be treated equal. What is good for the good is also good for the gender. So as I'm fighting for my own, Laori too is fighting for his own, but we must find a meeting point.
Okay, all right, Honorable Unisa. Now, this is the reason we have the town hall, because it's to bring you with the constituents so we have an understanding and there's clarity. So let's start with the constituents in Taraba. Now, Honorable Unisa says, it's their job to act in your best interest, and during appropriations, they introduce some of these things in your interest. So let's go back to Jalingo now to ask the constituents, do you feel your representatives are basically presenting your interest in the appropriations? He's given a very good example when he talked about roads. He talked about roads and he says, we discovered there was a discrepancy, there was a balance on one side, but we make adjustments during the appropriation. Do you understand how this works? Do you feel you are getting that representation from your representatives? Let's go to the constituents in Jalingo.
Anyone? Good morning. Once again, I still remain Emmanuel James. Sincerely, our legislators from this part of the country, they are not trying their best. Because, for example, Jalingo Numa Road has been there for many years. None of them has come out to fix that road. A lot of accident has been happening in that road. And many parts of this country, some part of Gombe Road, you can't pass there. and some other parts in Adamawa State. Seriously, our legislators from this part, they are not representing us as we expected. We are calling on them to pass laws that will benefit the constituents, not just going there to stay without coming back, to listen to the plight of their people.
Okay, Emmanuel James, while we still have you, give me, Emmanuel, let's just quickly go back to Emmanuel. I think let's start calling for specifics. You say let's call for laws so we get proper representation. What law, for example, would you like to see a representative from that part of the country, take up? Give me an example of something you would like them to do specifically. This is the reason we have the town hall, so we can look at each other and say, look, I'm not happy with this. Please, what are we going to do about it? Then the legislators now come in and tell you, this is what we can do about it. So instead of saying, let them make laws that will benefit the people, it's such a wide term. Let's try to narrow it down. Give me an example of something you would like.
Particularly in the aspect of infrastructures, like the roads that I've talked about. Some part of the state in the northeast, you can't cross them. So they should try and develop and construct roads in our areas. And in the aspect of youth development, most of the youth are just there doing nothing. Let there be empowerment for the youth in order to benefit, also to reap the dividends of democracy, to know that someone is representing them. Seriously, the youth need job, need empowerment, and so on. In the aspect of water, pipe-borne water, some areas where cows are drinking water, that is where we are fetching our drinking water as well. We are struggling with cows, with animals in the bush to fetch water, where our lawmakers have the capacity to do boreholes in those areas. So I'm calling on them specifically on the roads, youth empowerment and water aspect, water supply. They should try and do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Let's bring it back here to Gombe. Let's try someone who's not spoken before. You, sir, in the red tie with the suit. So again, please name, constituency, and let's be specific in our, if you're making a request, we'd like to see this.
I would like to have our legislators come up with laws and policies for continuity in projects. Now, for example, you will see so many abandoned projects around. Is because if every government come on board, everybody wants to start afresh from so that they will have their name chronicled in time about they have done this project, they have done that project. So in instances where you find out that they are out of office without continuing that project, you will now discover that if the next person now comes on seat, they will not think about that other project that is still there, especially if it is from a different political party. Everybody wants to come up with their own project so that it will be said that this is what they have done in their time. I believe if we can have a policy, a law on ground that will ensure that everyone who is coming to office will complete those projects on ground, because these projects have been started for the interest of the people, so that when we complete these projects on ground, then we'll begin to build up. And in the next 30, 50 years, we'll be happy for where we are. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joshua. We'll take one more. You, sir, with the light brown kaftan.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Najib Sani. I'm a journalist here in Gombe. My question goes to the lawmaker from Taraba State. Somebody said that, suggested that as lawmakers, he expects you to, train youth various skills so that they can be self-reliant. But in your response, you stated that it's not the duty of the lawmaker to do that. But we have that notion that lawmakers collect constituency allowances. Don't you think that it is good for the lawmakers to channel those resources into development program like that? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sani. We will touch on, again, the area of... Okay, I see there's still a few more people who want to be heard, and this is why the town hall is here, because of you. So, you, sir, let's start. We'll come back to you. Please, sir.
Mr. S.G. Idris from Bauchi Central, Bauchi South Senatorial District. I have some 2 or 3 issues. One is on these issues of Northeast Development Commission. The major problem in Nigeria at the moment is the issue of security and misplacement caused by insecurity. In the wisdom of the last assembly, we had a commission in the Northeast, which affects virtually all the 6 states of the northeastern part. From what we've been following antecedents, the Northeast Development Commission have not been functional, and the member rightly pointed out that one of their major responsibility apart from lawmaking is an oversighting the executive to ensure that money appropriated for certain projects are actually carried out. And majorly, why some of us keep having this confusion that we expect more than the constitutional duty of the members of the House of the National Assembly, of the legislature generally, is because of their posture. If I could remember in 1999, when we returned to democracy, the first issue we had was wardrobe allowances for the members. It becomes a major national issue. Today, if you are talking of major backlash between the executive and the legislature, it's always on this area of constituency allowances, projects, and the development we have seen. In most instances, members are concerned about some of these projects because they bring those who will do the contracts and give them their kickback upfront. No, these are facts. They are facts.
Let's call them allegation until we can substantiate
so
them.
What I'm trying to point out here is
that
that is partly responsible for why I felt that sometimes those things that do not concern them directly, they pay less attention. The Northeast Development Commission would have been a major boost in solving the issues of displaced people in the Northeast, but you see that the activities of this commission is going unchecked. I have had cause of writing even petitions on behalf of certain organizations which feel they are IDPs but they are not being attended to. They see what is meant for them going to the general markets, and nobody is there to fight for them.
Okay,
that's one.
Let's give somebody else a chance because there are quite a few of you. But thank you for your submission so far. There's a hand right at the back there. You, sir. Thank you, Barrister.
Good morning, all. Good morning, all. My name is Chima Zubiki. I write for Punch Newspaper in Gombe. While the Honorable Member was talking, he said something about the reps and the Senate being the same. And that actually, has given me this question, the need for this question. If they are the same, going by the mega resources that we have at hand, don't you think it's actually, time for, a collapse of this bicameral legislature, to just one single entity? And I think that the reps will actually be will actually, do more, because in each state you have more than 3. So that actually 6 at least. So I feel that, since Nigeria does not have as much resources as it used to have, I think, there is need for us to collapse the buyer to, one single house. Thank you.
Thank you, Chima. So Chima is basically saying a unicameral legislature instead of the bicameral one we run now due to resources. Right, due to time, we're still here on this is just the first part of the town hall. We'll still hear from you as we go along. I'd like to come back to our legislators once again to key into what our constituents have said. Emmanuel from Jalingo. Let me start with Honorable Lowry. Now, Emmanuel from Jalingo was talking about, he was specific, he says the Jalingo-Numan roads, he mentioned jobs for the youth, he mentioned empowerment, he says, legislators should factor in boreholes. Honorable Lowry, if you'll please respond to Emmanuel from Jalingo.
Yes, thank you, Emmanuel, for that your observation. Let me tell you, the legislators are working on that. I remember there is a joint motion on that Numan-Jalingo road, and also that of Gombe-Numan road. which I did move the motion of Gombe-Numa Road. And I know as a fact that the problem of that road is the release of funds. From Numan, they have done some work, but it has not, just about 15 kilometers. They have done some work for 15 kilometers. I will tell you as a fact that, like the Gombe Road, like the Savannah, that road, the federal government is supposed to release about 2 billion. What was released was just 340 million. So what are you going to achieve with that? So the problem is not the legislator. We have done the work. And let me tell you, I'm sitting down here, I've gone to the Federal Ministry of Works in charge of this road, and even the engineer in charge is always calling me. He's even relocated overseas to see if we can even talk to the state governor if he will take over for the federal government to pay. So sometimes you would not know until we sit like you, we sit down with you and you ask us questions and they will provide this. Then you will understand. It is our responsibility as legislators to always go back to you and sit down and we discuss with you so that you ask us this question and you know what we are doing. If we don't have this interactive session, you won't know. But as it is the fault of the federal government because there are competing demands and they will tell you this is the envelope we have just given and then there is nothing you can do about that. And in respect of youth empowerment, it's that of the executive, not the legislator. We just have to create means of which the government will not come to do the empowerment.
Create an enabling environment.
It's the executive that executes all the policies and programs. But we just have to make the means for them to do that. And of course, we have to see where there are gaps. I will tell you, for instance, for free. I know that the youth need empowerment. I know that the in thing now is for them to have vocational education. For instance, in my constituency, where it was Numan Technical School, Numan, people from outside used to bring their vehicles for repairs. But the place has run down. And that's why I'm even having a bill now to establish College of Education Technical. Because I know if we have technical vocation, a lot of our youth will now have vocation that can sustain them. It's not just to come and give you a stipend, no. But to create for you an environment where you can learn a trade that will sustain you. And it's a law I'm sponsoring. And if this, if we are able to get it through, you see, we would now create an avenue for the youth to be, educated so that they can now be empowered. So, like I said, and I'm maintaining it, it's not a part of the legislator to say, okay, I'm just empowering you. Forget about what you see that the legislator will come in and just be distributing things. That's not empowerment. How many of them will sustain that? I have done that since I was a state legislator up to here. You give them, you are giving somebody something and he's selling it. He's selling it there. So I believe the best way is to create more vocational centers to train this youth, because if you train them, then they can now, whatever they have, they can now have sustainability. And in respect of the issue of continuity of projects, I agree with you, the person from Mubi. We have this problem. That's why initially I brought the issue of Indonesia. If you have a project, why can't we codify it? And our responsibility as a legislator to codify it. If we do codify it, whoever is coming will not have any option but to conclude that. And we know that if it is finished and the law, by a fruition of time, will be removed. We cannot repeal it. And it will help this country. I believe so much in that. It will help us considerably. Northeast Development Commission, yes, there may be problem, but let me tell you, Northeast Development Commission was the baby of the legislator. We formed the Northeast Development Commission because of the problem. It was not the executive. we, the legislators from the Northeast, sat down and said, look, with what we are passing through, we have to do this. And we did that, and we put the pressure on the president, and he signed that bill. Thank you very much.
Okay, let me continue now regarding the Northeast Development Commission. Let's come now to Honorable Abubakar. Now, the constituents here, that's Barrister S.G.
I have them. Let's save time. I have them. Let's just save time.
Okay.
We need more time to do the elucidation.
Yes.
Yeah, stop the recapitulation.
Okay.
Can I just go ahead?
Please, go ahead.
Good. You see, the issue, just like my colleague have said, I will have approached the issue differently. When you have a wrong diagnosis, you end up having the wrong solution. First and foremost, what you at the constituents deem and constituted as a problem, are you sure you've done justice to it? Have you segregated the role of the legislators and that of the executive? Let's say the Northeast Development Commission, like he said, let me take it from there. It is a baby and we'll still remain proud to say we did it. When Mr. President was given at the end of his 30 working days, we got it at the last 11 hour that he assented it. But by that time, we at the 8th Assembly, thank God he is a member there, we were determined to override Mr. President's veto. Because such was done during Obasanjo time with the Niger Delta Development Commission. When the legislature formulated it, Mr. Obasanjo, being present, refused to assent it. When he returned, the National Assembly override his veto and pass it with 2/3. We were determined in the Northeast to do the same thing, because at that time the Speaker is from Northeast, and it is his own single bill with all the members, 48 members of the House of Representatives. The Speaker have to leave his seat to come down to pass this bill, and we pass it. Mr. President doesn't want it. Credit goes to Mr. President's wife, Aisha Buhari. She stood and saw that Northeast Development Commission bill was assented. I'm not trying to be sentimental, but just to portray the effort we've been doing. Secondly, let me come to the issue. You look at the roles of the legislators. When you know you've identified their roles, then what are the procedures that they carry? What are the processes involved? I pass a law. I have said, okay, we have looked at the youth unemployment, the resistiveness, just like he said. He is trying to come with a bill to establish technical. We in Gombe here, we have the FCE technical, the two of its kind, right from time in post-independence with ACOCA. ACOCA has gone far in Lagos with the government. But by the fiat of the federal government, Federal College of Education Technical remain as it is, right from craft school. And it has produced a lot of LCE graduates to the extent of Bachelor of Education with some certificate. I just came up with a bill that institution must be upgraded to a Federal University of Education Technical, so that you can now deepen the education of these technical teachers, so that we have more of them to impact back in the society. That's another way. We have the Federal College of Horticulture, which came up just after 1999 and the rest, and it has been producing this intermediate works. My bill is now in front of Mr. President for assent. We don't know whether he's going to assent it or not, to become a Federal University of Agriculture, to take care of Northeast geopolitical reason. All what you are doing is for the youth. Now the question is, we at the legislature, we have passed the law, and the executive refused to implement it. Yet you blame the legislators? That is one thing that you have to understand where we are. Yes, we do appropriation. They refuse to implement the appropriation. We said, okay, take Gombe Numa Road, Gombe B Road, Gombe Potiskum Road. I'm just giving an example because Gombe is now the home. And all like he said, during the 8th Assembly, I was a member of the Works Committee that we told all this nation. Gombe Bauchi Road, that contract was given since. Look, follow the road now. Kadaria just passed the road and she was complaining. Till today, she needs massaging cream and painkillers. So when you go like this, so what I'm trying to say here is that the legislators do their job. You people should know where to carry placard, either to Mr. President or to the lawmaker, and you ask your lawmaker to go and then you carry placard and
thank you, Honorable Abubakar. Okay, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there are numbers scrolling there for you to send in your WhatsApp messages. If you have comments, if you have questions, please send them in to the numbers scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Now we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk more about our next clear, obvious destination, which is engagement. How often do our legislators engage their constituents? Because clearly there's a need for greater education. All of this when Open Square returns. Stay with us.
One of the unique features of our democratic journey so far is the concept of constituency projects. Projects may include the acquisition of vehicle, machineries, other equipment for the constituency. Most legislators around the world angle for such projects such that they can appeal to the voters in their constituents, since they seek votes just as executives does. In most democracies, it is a process used to obtain funding from a central government to finance projects benefiting legislators' local constituency. It is also known in US, where it's a legal framework, as earmarking or pork barrels. The constituency project shall constitute, if approved, 20% of the annual budget by ensuring that certain portion of the nation's annual budget be set aside for rural development.
This bill seeks to call for an enactment of a law to give legal backing to constituency projects, create constituency development fund, provide processes and procedures for their implementation, and ensure transparency, accountability, and probity, and also ensure that the public is properly educated on how these funds are applied. Mr. Speaker, every year members of the National Assembly are required to identify projects in their various constituencies and recommend same to the executive during budgeting. We do not have direct control to the implementation of these projects. The award, financing, and supervision of these projects are the exclusive preserve of the appropriate MDAs, and of course not the National Assembly. However, Mr. Speaker, this has generated a lot of controversy in the public and of course within our various constituencies, because the general notion is that these funds are released directly to members of the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, Nigerians are yet to understand that constituency development funds are not given to members of National Assembly.
Is Open Square, a town hall meeting between the federal legislators, that's our lawmakers, and their constituents. Open Square is brought to you by Daria Media with the support of Channels Television, the MacArthur Foundation, and Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos. My name is Camry Apollo. Now, if you are just joining us, this again, it's Open Square. It's a forum for conversation between members of the National Assembly, of the Northeast, as members of the Northeast National Assembly, and their constituents, the people they represent. Now, we have also remote constituents in Jalingo who are joining us via Zoom. We've taken some submissions from them, quite interesting, I might add. And just a quick reminder once again about the numbers scrolling at the bottom of your screen. You can also participate, join in the discussion by sending in your message on WhatsApp. We have civil society organizations also with us during this discussion. So, right now we're going to move to another part of our discussion which has to do with engagement, because clearly there's a need for more education. This is the reason we have functions like Open Square. Let's come back to our legislators now. How often, let me start with Honorable Lowry, how often do you meet with your constituents? How often do you engage with them? And how would you describe the process? Honorable Lowry.
Thank you very much. I do engage my constituents, and basically I have a program that I do each year where 2 people from each unit will come in. Every unit in my constituency. I have 3 local governments, and I don't just do it at the headquarters. I move to each of the local government. I will sit down there with them. I will give them a scorecard. I will tell them all that I have done in that 1 year. And every question they have, they ask me and I give them answer. And whatever they feel should be done, they make their submissions. That I do each year. And I'm inviting all of you. In May, I'm going to have another one. So you're welcome so that you can see for yourself what I do. And if there are other major things that are coming up in the National Assembly, like the Constitutional Amendment, I do meet with some interest group. I will call interest group, we'll sit down with them and say, this is what is happening.
Give us an example of some of the groups, some of the members of the interest groups.
Different associations, all the different associations, whether it is the transport, whether it's the market women, whether it's the Nolge, whether it's the nurses, all this, because I believe that these are stakeholders that need to know the traditional ruler, because I have to go and brief him and brief them so that it will trickle down. This is what we have on the plate. What direction do I take in respect of this matter? That I do, and it's on records, and some of you can even view it online that I've done. So that is how to engage. My constituency office is functional. Monday to Saturday, except Sunday, Monday to Saturday, it is open from 8 o'clock until 6 o'clock. Because it's not everybody that can access me. That's why the constituency office is there. And you can make your presentation in my constituency office, it will reach me. If it happens that you want to talk to me there, they will call me. You don't need to use your credit. They will tell me, and I will call back, and you make your presentation. Whatever it is, write it and give it there, and whatever correspondence that is there, I go through it, and I give you a response. Because it is part of my responsibility as your representative to have a feedback from you, and also to give you a response. But believe you me, there is lack of knowledge as to what even people ought to bring. If you go in, 99.9% of the problem you're going to be facing with is just personal problems. Unfortunately, that's what you pass through. And just I will relate with what the other person from Taraba said. I remember, he said, there are places, boreholes, they need boreholes, they are drinking with animals. I'm there at the national level, and you're telling me about drinking water, which the chairman of the local government ought to take responsibility. But now it's my own responsibility. So, because as long as you are an elected person, most of our constituents don't know the difference of what you do. But the most important thing, as a legislator, you ought to create time for your constituency, for them to hear from you, and you also give them feedback of what you are doing. I've been giving my scorecard to my constituents so that we'll be on the same wavelength.
Okay, let's come now to Honorable Walker. Do you have a similar arrangement with your constituents?
Yeah, similar, but not the same. You see, difference, I mean, stroke. I mean, definitely need a different approach. So in my own constituency, depending on the nature and the ability, after I've conducted a survey, I do have a constituency office, but I disintegrated it. Like, we have 3 state constituency in my own federal constituency. So I make each of these 3 state constituencies to be a unit. And I have my aides, they are actually heading the 3 state constituencies that comprises my federal constituency. So things are there, our scorecards are there, the liars, they get complaints, and most of them, I talk to them almost on daily basis. And there is a central chief of staff that when to meet him, even on the road, he will call me and tell me immediate problem. 247, they are all on alert, and personally I'm alert. I use SMS. I don't normally pick calls because most of the calls are destructive. But SMS, WhatsApp, Messenger, email, they are my best form of communication. And I program myself, they know it, from 10 p.m. to almost till daybreak. I go through my messages and reply them and then act. So this is one. Then I do come on quarterly basis. Sometimes if I come, I engage some critical stakeholders because not everybody understands. Just like you say, when you now call of them, they will bombard you with their personal problems. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but it's not our duty, for goodness sake. But because we are very easy to them, when you open the catalog of the problem, more than 80% is personal. Then we do what we can do and leave. But then issues like this, we do some project. Well, I don't know, but when I don't blow my trumpet, nobody blows it for me. When you go to Facebook, they call me Mr. Project. In my constituency here in Gombe. That is my popular name. So just to show that I have tried to fulfill part of the requirement, bringing government closer. But just like my colleagues say, something that is belong for the local government, we are being bombarded with. Something that is for the state government, we are being bombarded with. That is why in the envelope of the budget, we created what you call ZIP, Zonal Intervention Project, which erroneously people are calling Constituency Project, which I had one of our sources.
We'll come to that on Walker. It's part of our discussions because it's one of the issues that many people need
to answer the question,
yes.
This is my mode of engagement.
Yes.
And then I engage my critical rulers. I call them on phone. I had the problem. If there is anything, I ask them to do, and we swift. So I just have a robust arrangement. By my own nature, I don't normally stay 2-3 because in the National Assembly, I am all in international fora doing this. In fact, I have to shift my trip to Kuwait for this meeting. I would have been in Kuwait by now, but I shifted it to tomorrow, Sunday, just to allow that. So because of my nature, if I said I will be leaving Abuja always to come, first bombarded by personal issues that I will be shedding tears.
Okay, now, Honorable Walker, now you've painted your particular situation. How then do you make yourself accessible? Because the people have said you are there to represent us, which means they must have access to you. It's part of your job description. Now, given your other duties, because you have national and even international duties, what are you putting in place to accommodate or facilitate the meeting with your people? Because you've talked about the phone.
Not what I am putting.
Yes.
If you say Putin, it's like in the future. What have I been doing? That's what I'm saying. I have this segregated, and we have people, like my media aide is even here. Every now and then, he is giving. So people are contacting them. My aides are there, they contact them. I engage them. If they tell me their problem, in fact, some of them are to come here, but there is a barrier. They have to go. So every blessed day, I engage with them. And that I've been doing right when I was elected.
Okay. All right, let's go back to Jalingo now. And let's hear from the constituents there. Now, you've heard the representatives here talk about how they engage with their constituents. We'd like to hear from you in Jalingo. Do you have a similar experience in engaging with your representatives? Let's hear from the constituents in Jalingo. Please go ahead. Your name, constituency.
To our legislator, we want to have access to them. There are lawmakers. So when they make laws, I want them to go back and check if what they have put in the laws to, if it's done or not. So seriously.
All right, Jalingo, excuse me. Jalingo, sorry, we're asking the question, how do you access your lawmakers?
Access to
How do you access your lawmakers? This is what we're talking about, not the lawmaking. How do you have access to them? How do you meet your lawmakers? This is a question we're asking. What seems to be the challenge? What seems to be the problem in you meeting your lawmakers? Let me ask the question again. Have you tried to access your lawmakers? If you have tried to access your lawmakers, what happens? Talk us through, tell us your experience.
We have tried to get access to them and don't get access to them. Then we can't even reach them. That is the main issue on ground. So we really want to have access to our legislators.
Okay, I think let's... Okay, now let's be very specific. When you say we try to access them, tell us, did you write? Did you call? Did you go to the office? Is the office open? Is it functional? Is the office locked? Were you turned away? These are the things we need to know so that we can address them. Okay, so let's come back to the audience here.
Yes,
okay,
we have done that. When they are campaigning, most of the time they give us their phone numbers to contact them, we communicate with them. But immediately they go into office, we don't get access through their phone number. You go to their office, constituency office, they will tell you they are not around, come tomorrow. Even if you drop a letter, that is how the letter will be there for donkey years. No response, nothing. Even if you message them through WhatsApp message or any means, they don't reply. That is how they leave your message there. So we are trying to get access to them, but to no avail. And we are calling on them, our members here, to try and create an office that will be meeting with them from time to time, just like their colleague in Gombe said he has been doing.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, I'm presuming. Now, before we go on, please, let's maintain decorum, okay? We're here to have a conversation so that we understand where our problems lie and that we can resolve them. So please, let's maintain our decorum. Right, let's take someone who has not spoken before. You, sir, wearing the blue, right in front. Again, we're talking about access to lawmakers, and please, let us be specific. Instead of using general terms, I tried, it didn't work, okay?
Thank you very much. My name is Bremfte Solomon from Mobi North, Mobi South, Maiha Federal Constituency. To some of our legislators, they have been doing well. Why to some of our legislators, just like my colleague from Jalingo said, the only time you see them is during campaign time. That is when you see them. But after campaign time, they even go to the extent of relocating from that constituency. You never see them again till another campaign time.
Is this your particular experience, and what is your constituency again, Prince Solomon?
Mobi North, Mobi South, Maiha constituency. This has been our experience over the time. After campaign promises, you don't see them again. We try assessing them through their peers. It all no avail. Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's come, you, sir, right at the back. Sorry, can you?
Bauchi South. By profession, I'm a technical person into IT. So about the issue of accessibility, I would like to give notes to Honorable who said that he used to have an email segregation of WhatsApp of how you get access to him. You see, with the coming of technology, lawmakers can make it very easy to communicate with people without going there physically. And from personal experience, like they said, some of the lawmakers, when they meet people, that's why they don't like meeting people. 98% of the time is personal problem. But on the other 1%, there are people like, probably let me say myself, that's what I know, that I will never go to a lawmaker for personal issue. So people that are like that sometimes find it really hard to go there because they will be assumed that they are going there for personal gain also. So what are the lawmakers can make it even something through their law that the federal government law says that they must engage with their people through social means. For example, this open square is conducted by a private firm, which costs money to do it. If they can, there should be a way whereby these lawmakers can meet citizens at a very cheap or very low cost where private companies don't have to get involved. That's on my own observation.
Okay, thank you. There's a lady here. Think, please.
Gender.
By name Firdausi. By name Firdausi Dairu from Yola North, Yola South, Gire. Sometimes we find it difficult to meet with our elders. Some of them, they will just change their numbers. They are not visiting their constituency. That's the major problems that we are facing. That's okay.
Okay, thank you. I think let's take one more. Okay. There's another lady there. No, I was going to call another lady on the other side, but we have one here. Please, madam, please.
Mizariet Abubakar, Gombe North. Well, I would say my constituent is actually Gombe State and the whole of Northeast, so I can talk about any part. Our representative actually talked about Yamal Tudeba, about recent engagement actually shows that there is a disconnect between the federal legislatures and the constituents. Recently, I've had a lot of engagement with the communities, and there's that problem. They are not sure of whether projects are from the constituency projects, the government, the federal government, personal people, individuals. Nobody knows where the constituency project is coming from. And in fact, even when the constituency projects are being carried out, the people are not taken along. Their needs are not put into consideration. The lawmakers just decide on whatever projects they want, and they push it down to the people. So sometimes there's that lack of ownership. People don't feel a part of the project, and because of that, the projects sometimes are irrelevant and not a priority of the people. So that is one.
Okay, we'll take one very quick one so we can move along.
All right.
Go ahead, very quickly.
A quick one, I will say that instead of just having the constituency project, sometimes they come along, but they come with jamboree and a lot of fanfare. So it's nothing serious that they are actually carrying out. They just come and people see you around and, the crowd and whatever. And no serious information is being gathered. So that is also a major challenge. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like us to go back to Jalingo. And in Jalingo, we'd like to hear from somebody who has not aired their thoughts yet. We've only had 2 people from Jalingo. Please, could somebody else from Jalingo give us their own thoughts? Accessing your lawmaker. Is it easy for you to access your lawmakers? Do you access your lawmakers? I'd like to hear from somebody who has not yet talked in Jalingo. And please speak directly into the mic, your name, constituency, and be very clear. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Safiano Abubakar Bauro from Jalingo Yoro Anzin Federal Constituency. From the beginning, they used to pick our call, especially my member House of Representative. We used to call, chat with him, and there are some basic advice that we used to give him, and he's accepting it, even though he has opened a constituency office near opposite to government house, but later on the constituency is not working. But when issues come to petition or writing some request, we used to send it to his senior legislative assistant. But later on, all these channels we are not availed. When we try to reach him through phone, we are not getting him. Even the legislative aids that we used to communicate as of then, we are not getting it at the right point. But there is one request that we have made. He have tried that one when we issue a request on one feeder road around Barder Way, and he accepted that petition and request. He makes sure that the project has done, and he has commissioned the project. We applaud that one at Barclay. But in Jalingo Metropolis and other constituencies, especially Yoro and Zin, there is a lot, especially Yoro, there is a lot, even in his own town, there is a lot of areas they need to road, that feeders road. So we are appealing because sometimes we used to get this kind of ways that we can communicate with them through these kind of channels. So if he is hearing us or he is watching, please, we are appealing. Those 3 local government that you are representing, please, those feeders roads that we are petitioning for you to make sure that they have gotten consideration. Please, we are requesting for you to make sure the work is done. Especially that Numan Jalingo Road. Because in that area, that Numan Jalingo Road, if you follow that road, it will take you to, even in your own local government. These places need very serious attention. And if you can remember, the honorable member representing Gombe says a lot of works that have been channeled to one zone. So you guys have to sit down, you that are representing us in the federal law, especially those that represent us in Northeast. You have to sit down and make sure that those projects which have been approved, make sure that the project has been completed. The remaining money that the executive that didn't give you guys, the contractors, make sure that this
Okay, Jalingo, thank you.
A lot of people are suffering.
All right.
A lot of people are suffering.
Thank you, Jalingo. Let's take some messages on our WhatsApp now. Idris Ilu from Taraba State, Bali local government area on WhatsApp writes, most of our representatives, especially in my zone, which is Central Zone, they're very hard to access until election time. And Mohammed Ribadu Jibrin from Bauchi says, the issue of Northeast Commission is a very good achievement made by our legislators, but the commission is only in 2 states of the zone, that's Borno and Yobe. There's no equal distribution from the commission. For example, my state, Bauchi, this is my observation to our lawmakers. Again, that's Mohammed Ribadu Jibrin. And Husseini Abdurrahman Ngombe from Abuja says, I listened to the analysis of Honorable Yunusa Abubakar on the upgrades of Federal College of Education, Technical Gombe, and that Federal Horticulture Gombe. I agree with you, sir. But will it not be more appropriate if we can upgrade Gombe State University of Science and Technology Gombe to Federal University of Science and Technology, Education and Agriculture Gombe? That is to say, Federal College of Education Gombe and that of Horticulture should remain as they are. That's my opinion. That's from Husseini Abdurrahman Dangombe. Okay, so again, we've been talking about the accessibility of lawmakers by their constituents, and it's always been, very, very contentious issue. Again, we've heard some constituents say after elections we don't see them. Now, the issue of education on who does what, I think, is a very, very important one. Who is to educate the people on the functions of the legislature? Whose job is it? Is it the legislature to tell the people this is our job? Is it the people to teach themselves what the legislator's job is? What is it? All right, we'll go on a break. And when we come back, we'll be talking more about, for example, lawmaking and how it impacts the constituents. And another question is, how do the constituents, engaging with the constituents, how much of that influences the way our lawmakers vote? We've heard from 2 lawmakers who interface with their constituents. How much of their constituents' wishes are reflected in voting? Should it be reflected in all? Is it, just some votes? We'll hear about all of this when we come back.
No member of the National Assembly, be it senator or member of House of Representatives, executes these projects. It is bidded, and then it is the MDAs that will give out these particular projects and later award contracts. Our own is to supervise. I want to make a clarification here. I know that right now, there are a lot of states that have been having issues with payment of salary. And if you go to the local governments, we also have issues. Some of them cannot pay salaries. So you don't expect any development. It is these constituency projects that we attract from the federal government that we give people opportunity to do these projects in our various constituencies. So if people are saying that this constituency project should not be executed, you are not just anti-National Assembly. I think it's an anti-people statement. People should allow us to do it.
Constituency projects are novel things that the House negotiated and got government to approve to enable every constituency have a feeling of government. Paradox. We have 360 constituencies, and sometimes ministers, the executive arm of government, may put whatever project they have in only about 50 of such constituencies. The remaining one will never be touched. So there are chances that a constituency may be there for 20 years, no single federal government presence. So what I've done is to allow all members have access to constituency projects so that every constituency in the federation has a federal government touch. Some of the reasons why some constituency project could be abandoned, one, is the ambition of the honorable member and the desire to satisfy his people. For instance, like I said, when we had 30 billion in our budget, and then you found out that, let's say the road, the major road in your area is bad. It's okay, I want to tie it. If that road costs 120 billion, or you have 30 billion, you cannot complete it. So at the end of the day, it will be abandoned. But if you are re-elected, of course, you can continue to put money on it until you finish it. But sometimes the honorable member may not be elected. And the new honorable member coming may not be interested in that project. Because we say, that's, if I finish it, I will not take glory for it. And so, project is left. Sometimes you put all your money in the project. And you say, okay, this project will cost 28 million. You put your money in it. And then at the end of the day, federal government releases only 17 million, a lower percentage of the amount. This is probably due to financial, maybe the financial squeeze, price of oil have gone down. So the money federal government was expecting, they did not realize it. And then, of course, they give you a lower amount. And then the money cannot finish the project.
Right, you're welcome back to Open Square. Open Square is a production by Daria Media with the support of Channels Television and the MacArthur Foundation. And also Radio Now 95.3. My name is Camry. Now, just before the break there, we were talking about constituents engaging their legislators. Before we move on to the next part, let's just sign off on this by asking the very critical question. Let's start with Honorable Yunus Abubakar. What then how then can constituents hold their non-responsive legislators accountable?
Well, number one, the system has to provide in such a way that we avoid things that will lead to problem. Not when the problem occurs, we tend to provide solutions. In the first place, the electorate, do they know who they are sending as their representative? Does he have the capacity, the capability, the mental faculty? Is he apt? That is number one, because if he's equal to the task, when you come looking for him, you will find him. But if you have saddled him with a responsibility that he cannot, if he meets you, you tell him more that he cannot comprehend. So
okay, Honorable, let's assume they've made the choice which is not up to par, and they now have a person who is not responsive.
Very good.
What do they do?
Good. When they have somebody who is not responsive, they have tried all the means. They have the constitutional process of recall. They can mobilize, use the civil liberty organization, look whatever the pressure group to see that they campaign against him. That is one. Two, they can come to the media and say it all sort. But like I said before that is the last resort they will take. We have our aides, we have our offices, our numbers. If I change number a million times, there must be somebody I'm communicating. I have my wife. Go through my wife. You elected me. I'm your servant. But then the issue now is, how do I got elected in the first place? Did I come with money? Give you money, you elected me? Then the psychology can say probably he bought your vote. So he has paid you. What business do you have? But he is a product of, you said, look, Mr. Man, Ishaku, you are the best. Don't give us kobo. I saw a constituency in Bauchi that people collect money from one aspirant and fund another aspirant. So when that aspirant eventually won, they own him. Do we own the member? So these are the things we have to ask ourselves. And for instance, we have to segregate. I still emphasize, like the person that mentioned Gombe this from Abuja, you are talking of Gombe State University. I don't have right to legislate. It is an exclusive legislative list. A federal lawmaker has no business with anything with the state. I cannot legislate for Governor Inuaya, for goodness sake. It is the state assembly. But I did FCH, FCE because they are federal in nature. Gombe State lawmakers can do nothing about it. So it is our duty. So you can see, in amongst that, I want Gombe State University to go where they are. The only thing I can do is to lobby, to go and probably do Dubale for Governor Inuaya to do that, if he has the money. But where I have the right, I legislate. So what I'm saying, come to the issue. Your legislators can never be indispensable.
Inaccessible. Yes.
I mean, inaccessible, except if you want him to be. Find his aid. There must be people he's relating with. Report him to traditional rulers. They can summon him. Use all other avenues. I mean, you can try diplomacy. Don't just abuse him. And then, when you are looking for him, are you looking for him to, because you have given him a wedding card? Or because you have put to bed? That is the issue. Otherwise, we have the emirs, we have the chiefs, we have the district head, we have the ward head. He must belong to a village. So go through all those means, they can talk to him. So to me, I don't believe, if not because of indolence and laziness, that somebody can say their lawmaker is, after all he came, he can vote for vote, and you vote him. Oh, okay. It is a product of somebody imposing, you are waiting for the governor, or so that we can do him.
Okay.
It is a product of your own exercise.
Okay, Honorable Workers, thank you so much for that. I also think, civil society organizations could bear in on that as we go along. Right, now let's look to the aspect of, again, how much of the people's wishes are contained in lawmaking for a legislator. How much of the wishes of the people, when you go to meet with your constituents, how does that play into the way you vote? For example, we've just had the clause-by-clause consideration of the amendments of the 1999 Constitution. An issue of contention were the gender-related bills, where we saw none of them pass. So I'm going to put that to both of you now. Let me start with Honorable Lowry. For example, women representation in parliaments. There was the bill looking to set aside some seats for women in parliament. That was stepped down with some other considerations as well. What are your thoughts on that? And now that I have you on the spot, did you vote in favor of the gender-sensitive bills or not?
Thank you very much. On the issue of the constitutional amendment that has to do with the gender, I don't think there was much work done. Definitely not much work has been done in terms of lobbying in respect of these bills. I will tell you, in my constituency, there is no any difference of issue of gender. We have produced a woman councillor, a woman chairman, a woman House of Assembly,
a woman senator,
a woman House of Reps. I just took over from a woman House of Reps, a woman senator. So we don't have that issue in my constituency. My constituency is very well politically advanced.
So you voted in favor of?
In favor of?
Yes, this special consideration of seats. Did you vote in favor of that?
No.
In respect of additional seats?
Special seats set aside for women,
no.
to be specific?
No.
What informed the way you voted?
Yes, because I'm representing a constituency. I don't have that issue in my constituency. We have to sit down and break down what we are doing and understand it first. If you are saying you are given additional seats, this is an elective position, and people are elected to come in. And you now say you are given additional seat. What are the modalities? How are you going to select them? Why are you going to disenfranchise another constituency? Because obviously, whoever you take, you are giving another constituency an additional person.
Okay.
That means you are disenfranchising my constituency. How are you sure that somebody will not just go and pick his sister, his girlfriend, his mother, anybody, because he has opportunity and just post in there?
Okay, Honorable Lowry, we'll come back to that.
Let me finish.
Yes.
You understand? So we have to look at this before we reach that. It is not just a matter of we just give additional seat. We have to understand that the other ones that has to do with appointments, yes, we go for it fully. But unfortunately, it failed, most especially in the Senate. But in the reps, we did pass them. And why? Because, yes, in terms of appointment, they deserve it. Yes, they will come in and bring in their expertise. But in terms of election, in my constituencies, our women don't suffer complexities.
They have the same opportunities
they
as
have
men.
the same opportunity as the men.
Okay, let me come to Honorable Abubakar now. The issue, because he's made the difference, which is very important for our viewer now. He's made the difference, Honorable Lowry has just made the difference between elected positions and appointed positions. He says elections, let it be a level playing field. Appointments, he says yes, he doesn't mind, let's set aside certain seats for the women. That's his submission. Now, the issue of appointment to political party, this is key because we've seen this play out and we have some congresses coming up thanks to the new INEC timetable. What's your position on that? Should there be a law mandating political parties to have certain seats for women in their party structure? Now, these are appointments.
Yeah, well, yes. But generally, in the issue of this gender, we have about 4 scenarios that concerns gender in the recent amendment that we did. Well, thank God, I don't know whether it's just paraventure or by coincidence. I allow he is representing Adamawa State in the constitution because each state have one. And I happen to be representing Gombe State. So we are both in even at the committee level, we are members of the special constitutional. I think you've asked the question to the right person. Now, the issue of this special seat, which is 101 at the national level, yes, and then some order at the state level, we look at cost implication. We look at the dwindling economic resources. We look at the exposure of the Nigerians. So this is what actually prompted our voting pattern. He did mention that much has not been done. No, rather I will say much appreciation and apprehension and comprehension of the problem to do with this special seat has not been done. The civil liberty organization have done on radio this and that, but they have not reached the lawmakers. If they have reached the lawmakers, had the lawmakers understand? And then the women's attitude, I can say it without fear of being contradicted, that you show that dominancy. What a man can do, a woman can do even better. Then I won election. Go and won election. In Gombe here, we have sent female legislators. In the 8th Assembly, we have Binta Bello, who has been elected twice, and she even became the deputy minority whip. She is a lady. We have Aisha Duku, who was elected from 2015 till today. She has been re-elected. So we have a level playing ground. It's only for the women that are not out for grab. We don't want to give you a platter of gold like this, because when you don't work for it, what you don't earn it, you won't value it. Okay. So that is one. Then next, the issue of 35% in the party structure. The politician we are
affirmative action, yes,
we are doing in Nigeria. The women, how have you comprehended? If you have a massive number, for goodness sake, I can tell you that in the ratio is 6-4 or 2-3. Women, you are 60% more than us. Men are only 40%. Why is it that if men are the men you have been sending, you cast our vote? Why can't you collect your vote, even in the party structure for primary? Why wouldn't you go and vote for your fellow woman? So if they've understood the system, they will have used it to their advantage. If you understand the system we are operating, I'm telling you, no man will be voted, because you are in number. But have you coordinated yourself? You are exhibited a crap mentality. Pull him down, pull your colleagues. That is the reason why we are taking undue advantage of that. Put yourself together. No any male can win election within the Nigerian context. So you don't have to be begging for 35%. You can get 100%.
Interesting.
So this is the issue.
Okay. Let's just hear from a couple of women in the audience regarding what's going on. Because first of all, the legislators have said not enough lobbying was done regarding the gender-sensitive bills. And they're saying, look, in their areas, it's a fair advantage, it's a level playing field. So let's hear from, okay, if you will, please. Let's hear from the audience, the constituents. Once again, please reintroduce yourself, constituency, and go ahead.
Thank you once again. I'm Fatima Sani Akumu by name. In terms of women, we were trying in Gombe, but our issue here is that none of men can, they will not agree for this thing, for the voters to vote female in Gombe State, more especially people with disability like me. Now, if I come out for something, they will start saying, how can she going to do for us? Well, what I have in my mind, wallahi tallahi, if they can give me chance, naran say da Allah, when they say to see if I can go out for something, wallahi tallahi, I don't think that any legislator in this Gombe State can say anything. I can make sure I make something in Gombe on the ground that everybody will talk about me and see what I did on the ground.
Okay, let's hear from another woman. Madam, you will. So can you please respond to what they said? Not enough lobbying was done, and it's a level playing field in their areas. And tell about your area. Please go ahead.
If you should come and help me, please. I'm a bit...
Okay, while that's going on, let's cut quickly to Taraba. Let's hear from the lady in Taraba. We'll come back to you, madam, in a second. Let's go to Taraba, Jalingo. There's a woman who wants to respond to the question. Again, legislators say not enough lobbying was done, and the two legislators here have said in our area it's a level playing field. So Jalingo, let's hear from Jalingo, a woman in Jalingo. How do you respond to that?
Okay. My name is Blessing Harry. I want to talk about the gender equal. Really, we need more ladies, more women to come out, to become legislative, to become governors, to become presidents in our Nigeria. Because really, when women are out to become those, to have those strong positions, really, great response will be out, because when women make laws, the laws stand. And I want to urge us as women in Nigeria to come out for these positions.
Okay.
Senators,
all right, thank you, Jalingo. Thank you, Jalingo. Right, let's come back to the constituents in the studio here. Introduce yourself, please, madam.
Hello. I'm Joy Almode Nyalas from Numan, Lamudre Demsa constituency. My contribution here is what my reps have said is true. We have been given a true play level ground.
Do you agree that not enough lobbying was done before the bill came to the Constitution?
Yes, everything was really okay, and it's still okay. But what I find out is the norms, the values, the traditions surrounding what a woman is, that really hinder us as women to go out for any political position, because as the man from Gombe has said, truly we are more than the men. And another thing, as he said, the syndrome of pulling her down is another thing that is working against us. But my question here, when I come up, my question is this. I don't know, as the two reps have said, they have offices, they have where they meet with their electorate, but I don't know if they have taken their time to enlighten the electorates that they are at the National House of Assembly to enact laws, not to come and give them or to empower them, bring things for them. Because if they have the opportunity to sit down with the electorates to deliberate on certain things, I think it is also a ground for them to really tell the electorate that we are not there to bring anything, so-called or anything for him. We are there to make laws that will impact. I don't know if they have any other channel apart from the normal things they're telling us, the what's up, the what's down, and what have you. We want something that if it comes personally, talking to them personally, it may make a little impact more than coming later to give them some things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I just want to also inform our other viewers that we are being joined by an audience in Maiduguri, but due to some technical challenges, it's difficult to connect to them. So I'm also using this opportunity to call on our viewers in Maiduguri. Please, the numbers scrolling at the bottom of your screen, send in your questions, send in your observations, send in your comments, and be a part of it, okay? This is the beauty of technology. Is that the problem with one, we can do with something else. So Maiduguri, please join us in that regard. Let me quickly take some messages that have come in on WhatsApp. Raymond Johanna Paudo from Biliri says, if drilling boreholes are not meant for the lawmakers, please tell us what projects are meant for you. That's a very clear question. And Babagana from Borno Central says, every year we see Appropriation Act amendment zonal intervention projects amounting to hundreds of millions, year in and year out, but you can never verify them. No one will tell you any project sites, even their so-called assistances. Okay, I think very quickly, because we have very, very little time, so we need to keep our responses as brief as possible. I think we need to touch on the constituency projects, because it's been brought up a couple of times. Whose responsibility is it to execute projects in the country, and how come our legislators are doing it if it's not their responsibility? If it is their responsibility, please explain to us how that comes about. Very briefly.
As a quick one, it is the responsibility of the executive arm of government to execute all projects. Legislators don't execute. Now, I was trying to explain the ZIP, the Zonal Intervention Project, out is come that people are calling Constituency Project. If you want to know, it is 100 billion on a yearly basis. And until last year, it was never implemented 100%. It used to be the highest was 75% in the 8th Assembly. In the 7th Assembly was 50%. So if you are talking, you have an envelope of 100 billion, it's only 50 billion. So the amount will not go. And let me put it here without fear of contradiction. A legislator, senator, House of Representatives, if you see him executing contract, that can only be possible with the possible connivance of the head of the MDA where the project is domiciled. So the big chief there is the head of the MDA, not the legislator.
Okay, Honorable Lowry, very quickly, we just have 1 minute.
Yes, thank you very much. I thank my colleague, and I want to say this. Constituency project is not constituency, it's called zonal intervention. Why do we have zonal intervention? We are in a federation, we are in a federal government. The federal government may not know Numan or Lamude or Diamsam, my constituency. They may not have any project there by the money they have in the budget. And that is why a little token is made an envelope and said, okay, please, can you give us something that we can go and do there? And that is why we come to the people. I have my town hall meeting, I collect the ideas, and I say, okay, this is what I want. Please, I push it there. So that at least the presence of the federal government will be felt in my constituency. Because you can finish your 4 years there without federal government reaching your constituency. That's the only way the federal government will reach your constituency, through those zonal intervention projects. So, and it is not for the legislature to execute them. There is a budget,
Honorable Lowry, because of time, we need to end it there, Honorable. Sorry about this. Because of time, we're way behind at this point. But we need to take a very quick break. Now, when we come back, we'll be wrapping up the program. Thank you so much for staying with us so far. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
I would have loved to be at this occasion in Gombe, and Kadria worked very hard to get me here. Unfortunately, due to prior commitments, I am not able to be with you in person, but I assure you that I am with you in spirit. This is a very important occasion for the Makata Foundation as well as for Diaria Media. We are all committed to ensure that services that are provided for the citizens are provided in a way that is effective and efficient. That officials who are elected to serve their own constituencies do so in a way that respond to the needs and the desires of their own communities. I therefore want to encourage the participants, and especially elected officials, to see this as an opportunity to convey to their own constituencies the kind of work that they are doing, what are the issues that they are dealing with, what are the challenges that they are facing, and how can they work together with their own constituencies in order to improve the quality of lives of the citizens of those areas. In the Northeast, as we all know, we have all gone through a long period of terrorism. Since 2009, the region has been devastated as a result of the insurgency that has afflicted all of us. But I'm sure with the work that is being done by our own legislators and the efforts they are bringing about improving the quality of life of citizens, I'm sure that all of us will strive towards ensuring that our own citizens become first-class citizens in the Committee of Nations of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you so much. Thank you to members of the National Assembly here present with us. We appreciate you honoring our invitation. It's been a very, very exciting session with our lawmakers right here on Open Square. Now, without question, ours is a developing country which seems unable to provide some of the basic requirements for life, like security, health, potable water, education, power, and jobs. Now, of the three arms of government, the legislature is the closest to the people. The legislators are therefore supposed to have a better understanding of the problems of the citizens. That's what it should be. Now, from what we've heard so far, the people's needs are basic. How do we reconcile the people's needs with the role of our legislators? These are some of the questions that have shown up. The more we understand and engage governance, the more we can enjoy the benefits of democracy. It's quite clear that there is a need for more public education, and this is a space where civil society needs to come in to partner with us in the media. There's a great need for that. And it's with this knowledge that citizens are able to engage with the legislative arm of government to improve our democratic process. Now, for these and more reasons, our work of ensuring dialogue and a deeper understanding between legislators and their constituency will continue in other zones of the country. So please watch out, because your zone might be next. Now, we will announce the dates for the next Open Square, which is set to take place in the southeast. So please keep a lookout for the announcements. And also special thanks to the citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria who have taken out the time to be with us here. Thank you all so much. And special thanks as well to the Channels TV crew and the Daria Media crew, and also the MacArthur Foundation. Thank you all for watching. God bless Nigeria. There is never enough. Whoa. Okay.